What if the most surprising breakout of the 2025-26 NBA season is already wearing green and white, hiding in plain sight, and finally about to be unleashed with no one fully ready for it? Celtics fans might think they've seen Derrick White at his peak, but the truth is far more dangerous, far more exciting, and far more transformative for Boston's future. While much of the league is focused on high-profile trades, injury headlines, and the so-called decline of the Boston Celtics, something unusual is brewing in the shadows. For the first time in years, Boston enters a season without the heavyweight pressure of being a title favorite. Gone are the veteran pillars like Al Horford, Jrue Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Jayson Tatum's injury leaves a temporary vacuum of star power. But in that silence, an opportunity is screaming. Derrick White is about to step into the spotlight in a way that Celtics fans, and frankly the entire league, haven't fully anticipated. This isn't about filling gaps. It's about evolution, and not just of a player, but of a franchise identity. White, entering his age 31 season, is often talked about as one of the league's most reliable two-way guards, but that conversation undersells him. Boston has, by design, kept his usage low. Never once as a Celtic has he crossed the 20% usage threshold typically expected of a starter. And yet, he remains one of the most efficient, intelligent, and quietly devastating guards in the NBA. Now, that restraint is gone. Boston will need shot creation, on-ball leadership, and playmaking under pressure. Not because they're out of options, but because they're betting on a version of Derrick White that only a few saw glimpses of during his San Antonio days. A version that ran pick-and-rolls with command, manipulated defenses, and made decisions at the speed of instinct. That version is returning, refined by years of elite defense and playoff pressure in Boston. Some analysts may point to the risk of reduced efficiency. They'll cite concerns about volume shooting and offensive fatigue. But those critiques miss the bigger picture. White has never had a season without improving some aspect of his game. He's transformed from a division to walk-on to a defensive player of the year. He's gone from being overlooked in the draft to being indispensable in the finals. If history tells us anything, it's that Derrick White doesn't plateau. The Celtics offseason wasn't loud, but that doesn't mean it wasn't strategic. Boston is quietly placing trust in internal elevation, and White is the centerpiece of that bet. He's no longer just the glue guy or the secondary option. He's the initiator now, the engine, and that could change everything fans hoping for. A superstar signing may have missed the bigger story. What if the Celtics aren't building around a new piece, but around the next version of a player they already have? What if the plan isn't to find the next star, but to reveal one? White's journey has been fueled by being underestimated. No college scholarship offers, Division II beginnings, late NBA entry, no all-star selections. But every time he's been counted out, he's rewritten the script. Now, with space to operate, a system adapting around him. What just happened between Derrick White and the Bruins might be bigger than you thinkin'. A city obsessed with banners and legacy? Something strange just happened. Something small at first glance, but packed with meaning beneath the surface. Derrick White, the quiet force behind the Boston Celtics' 2024 championship run, just received a public nod of respect from the most unexpected source, the Boston Bruins. And it wasn't about basketball. It wasn't about a highlight reel. And it wasn't about numbers. It was about something more elusive. Something that usually doesn't matter. It does. Let's rewind. The NBA offseason is in full hibernation. No blockbuster trades, no last-minute signings, no buzzy draft surprises, just silence. The kind of silence that makes people scroll a little longer, click a little deeper, hoping to find something they weren't supposed to see yet. In that silence, the Celtics dropped a social media contest. Simple enough. Fans were asked to vote on Derrick White's best pre-game outfit. A harmless time killer. Right? Wrong. Because what won wasn't flashy or loud, it wasn't designer-heavy or a walking fashion risk. It was a Bruins jersey, a classic, a nod. White, on his way to a Celtics game, wore the crest of another Boston dynasty across his chest, and the Bruins noticed, not privately, not through PR teams, not in the locker room, publicly, on social media. One historic franchise, tipping its hat to another, and not just any player, but to Derrick White specifically. A qualquera entende de moda, they said. That guy gets it. But this isn't about style. This is about presence, about crossover respect, about a player whose value to the Celtics can no longer be measured only in stats or box scores or spacing. White is becoming something more than a role player, more than a smart defender or a secondary creator. He's becoming the face of something. Larger, the culture of Boston basketball itself. And when a fellow Boston Titan recognizes that, something is shifting, look closer. White isn't just being embraced by his teammates or by Celtics fans anymore, he's being embraced by the entire city. This kind of admiration, this cross-sport validation, doesn't come for free. It comes when you carry yourself like a winner. When you show up in moments that matter, when your name starts to echo in locker rooms that don't belong to your own team. And let's not pretend this moment came out of nowhere. White is coming off back-to-back seasons, where he did more than just deliver. He transformed games. He defended like his life depended on it. He hit dagger threes. He broke up plays. He kept the offense steady when chaos threatened to take over. In 2024, he was a finals hero. In 2025, he averaged 16.4 points, 4.8 assists, and 4.5 rebounds on 44% shooting, anchoring one of the league's most efficient lineups. Those aren't empty numbers. Those are numbers of someone who's peaking at the right time. And the Celtics know it, which is why they're letting the spotlight linger on White in an offseason when all other noise has faded. There's a reason his outfits are being voted on. There's a reason the Bruins responded. There's a reason this fashion moment is being amplified. Because it isn't about the outfit. It's about what the outfit represents in the current NBA landscape. Where trades dominate headlines and drama fills the airwaves, there's something rare happening in Boston. A team, fresh off a title, isn't desperately chasing stars. They're doubling down on what already works. They're reinforcing a core that includes a player like Derrick White, who has gone from under-the-radar addition to a cornerstone of this franchise's future. He might not be the loudest guy in the room. He might not light up TikTok or stir up hot takes. But make no mistake, Boston is watching. The Bruins are watching. The city is watching. And when everyone from hockey arenas to hardwood courts is tipping their cap to the same guy, maybe it's time we start asking a different question. Not how good can Derrick White be, but how far can the Celtics go with him leading the charge? This isn't a fashion story. It's a shift in energy. One that could define the next banner that hangs in the rafters. And if you're not paying attention, you just might miss it. What if the Celtics' final move isn't about a superstar, but about saving the entire season? Behind every championship banner, there's a decision no one talks about. And this summer, Boston's silence is deafening. While the rest of the NBA scrambles for big names and flashy upgrades, the Celtics are standing still, at least on the surface. But under the radar, a single choice is quietly brewing that could define everything from the locker room's chemistry to the team's shot at surviving without their franchise cornerstone. One move remains, and it's not the one you're thinking of. The 2025 offseason was never about adding, it was about surviving. The Celtics made the hard calls early. They let go of Jrue Holiday, a defensive savant, and Kristaps Porzingģis, a unicorn who stretched the floor like few bigs in the league. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. The second apron under the new CBA isn't just a luxury tax. It's a guillotine for any team trying to build sustainably. Boston stepped back, not in fear, but in strategy. But here's the twist. While other teams spent the summer chasing dreams, Boston chose discipline. They cleared space, balanced the books, and stayed just below the deadly second apron. That's the headline. What's buried is this. They still have one roster spot left. Just one. And that single slot might hold more weight than any blockbuster trade ever could. Why? Because Jayson Tatum is not walking through that door. The Achilles injury to their leading scorer, their closer, their heartbeat, changes everything. You don't lose a 27-point per game All-NBA forward and just carry on. You adapt or you collapse. And the Celtics, knowing this, are staring at a fork in the road that demands precision, not panic. So who are the unexpected names in play? Neemias Queta and Kendall Brown. Not household names, not all-stars. But in this version of Boston basketball, they represent something even more vital: tactical survival. Queta brings interior muscle and vertical defense that the team sorely lacks after Porziņģis' departure. The Celtics got bullied on the boards in last year's playoffs, and without rim protection, they'll be hunted nightly. Queta doesn't need